All right, good morning, everybody. This is Kevin Lauren. I'm Director of Training and Marketing here at Alta Realty Group. And today we are going to go over agent safety. So this is something that we do every year in the month of September. September is NAR's Agent Safety Month. And so I think it's one of the more important things that we discuss. We can talk about marketing. We can talk about, getting deals. We can talk about structuring deals, but none of it matters if we're not keeping ourselves safe. So at least once a year, we do need to discuss safety as a realtor and just keep a few things in mind, both personal safety as well as client safety. So today we're going to go right into it. And this morning, Bill Seitz, the corporate broker, will not be joining us. So we are just going to get right into it. First of all, as usual, let's just take a quick look at the 10-year Treasury. So as Bill has been discussing and Amelia from Clearview Mortgage, the rates, they right around the time when the Fed cut rates, it kind of bounced and it came back up a little bit because as both of those two professionals were telling us, a lot of times the mortgage rates are already baked in, or that perceived cut, and it was only a half a quarter point, so it wasn't much anyway, but it was already baked into the mortgage rates themselves. And of course, as we know, the 10-year Treasury isn't a perfect reflection of rates, but the rates do reflect. I mean, if you look at the rates, they follow this trend right here. So they bottomed out about a week ago, a week and a half ago, and so now they've kind of bounced it back up, but not by much. So we're still in that low four territory. So still relatively low rates, relatively good mortgage rates for our clients. So definitely make sure that you're sharing that information with them. Very, very important. So let me switch gears here, and I'm going to share a graphic that I've created for you guys. So these are our agent best practices, 22 tips for real estate agents. And then what we're also going to do is I did come across on Inman, they had a pretty good little synopsis of their 10 best tips. And so we'll take a look at both of those today. So let's see here. So looking at the 10, or looking at the top ones here. So obviously, the majority of people probably would not walk into a secluded house with a stranger, right? However, real estate professionals do it every day. It's part of the job. So that's why NAR, along with individual brokerages like us, we like to reevaluate techniques for promoting safety. We like to make sure that our agents and all agents are safe in what they do. So first tip is set the initial meeting with a new client at a public place. That's a really good idea. Don't make the first meeting with the new client at the house or listing. It's a good idea for you to, first of all, kind of get a read of who this person is. You're not going to be able to tell everything, but it's a little bit better. Also, this is a good opportunity for you to make a copy of your client's driver's license. Just take a picture with your cell phone. I am a big proponent of having the person fill out a prospect identification form. I do have, I can provide that for you guys. You can make one yourself. It's just very, very simple. Just get their information. That way you at least, and also do a tiny bit of, of research on that person. I'm a huge fan of doing a quick Google search, even look at their social media if you can, to get an idea. First of all, is this a real person? Are they giving you fake information? Or, what kind of person are you dealing with? So I think this is a really key step. And I think if you guys, if you do this, you will definitely be a little bit safer. So another thing that I always propose is to record new client information electronically. Every new client should be in your CRM or on a spreadsheet or whatever, your technique is, but they should be, that information needs to be digitally, written down. And so the use of that technology, it creates that digital paper trail or that digital trail. And so if something is to happen, you at least have that. So really, really important. Keep your jewelry under wraps. So not a great idea to, use glamorous pictures of yourself wearing expensive jewelry in your advertising. And even, when you show up to a client meeting, you don't want to have, the most, you can obviously look good, look nice. That's very important part of the job, but try not to look too flashy and try not to wear super expensive jewelry. Um, there's a fine line, right? If you have a nice, some of you have nice Rolex watches or things like that, and they're it's nice to be able to wear that stuff, but especially for a first meeting, just dress it down just a little bit, okay? Limit the personal information you share. So they're probably, especially a criminal, they're going to be doing the same thing about you or to you that you would do to them. They're going to probably research you. They're probably going to, uh, look at your social media. They're probably going to, see exactly who you are if they're trying to see if you're somebody that they can take advantage of. So you want to limit the personal information that you share as much as possible. And again, we're real estate agents. Marketing ourselves is one of the major things that we do. So that also is a fine line. So, I understand that it's, you know, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but just limit what you can share if at all possible. I always, it's probably too late for a lot of you, but your social media accounts, I think it's a really good idea for real estate agents to have on their personal social media, not your real name, just some kind of variation on your name. And I think that's, um, helps you a tiny bit from being stalked online, but still, it's also tough to do. You want to separate the personal from the professional. So if at all possible, you want to, on your business cards, you want to have, our corporate address or one of our satellite office addresses on your business cards. You don't want to have your home address, if at all possible. Um, and then also phone numbers. It is super easy to have a Google Voice number, which is free. Through our C.A.R Interactive, we have, a dedicated phone number that you can also use that's not your personal number. And so you can have people use that phone number, especially when you're first starting to meet a client. You have no idea who they are, or it was a referral from, kind of a friend of a friend of a friend, you know. So those kinds of things you want to definitely just keep that in mind and see if it's a good idea for you to use a separate phone number, also email accounts. Make your clients feel known, right? Introduce your prospect to somebody in the office. Let somebody know in the office, or let somebody know here at Alta that you are going to be going out and showing property. I don't mind if you share that information with me. Just, having somebody else or a friend that family member, hey, and let that prospect know that you've done that. Hey, just let me know. My colleague is getting some information for me about the house, and I let them know that we'll be, looking at properties today. So if you're a would-be assailant, the more eyes that are on you, the less likely that you will attack, right? Totally makes sense. Let someone know your plans, same thing, just, let anybody, friend, colleague, uh, family member, just let them know exactly when you're going to be, when you plan on going, when you plan on coming back. Leave the phone name, or the name and number, plus any additional information you have collected on that client. Just send them a text. Hey, I'm meeting with this person. This is their phone number. This is who they are. That way you at least have somebody else that knows that you're with that specific person. Really important. Um, and then same thing, help your brokerage keep tabs on you. It's a good idea for the brokerage offices to have an employee checkout board on a website, or just, like I said, just send me a name and number and say, hey, Kevin, I'm going to go meet, this particular person at this property. And then a good rule of thumb is to, let me know or let somebody in the office know, this is how long I plan on being, with this person. And when I'm done, I'm gonna, send you a text and say, hey, I'm done with the appointment. Really not a bad way to go about things. Don't list properties as vacant, right? Do some virtual staging. Just don't list it as vacant. You know, that is, an open invitation to criminals, right? All right, I'm gonna go to this vacant lot, or I'm gonna go to this vacant, home, right? So just don't list them as vacant. Great rule of thumb. Never park in the driveway. This is a great one. Sometimes I forget about this one. So when you're showing a home, it's safer to park at the curb in front of the property instead of in the driveway. This allows more visibility to the neighbors if there is a conflict. Also, if if you needed to escape, you don't have to back out of the driveway. Also, a perpetrator can park behind you and make it so you can't pull out and you can't leave. So don't park in the driveway. And I think, it's also a little bit of a respect thing for the homeowner. And also, you may want to offer that driveway spot for the person that you're showing the property to. So that goes kind of a couple different ways. Show the properties during the day. Yep, we are getting into darker. The days are getting shorter every day now. And a lot of times people, especially in November, January, December, really short days. A lot of people, they want to see some properties after they get off work. Try not to do it if you can. Try to always, show those properties before it's dark. You know, uh, Stats show that, a lot more crimes occur at night, dark, it's easy to hide, all of those different things that go with it. So try not to show those properties, at night. Choose a safe word or a code. Same thing when you're talking to a friend or a family member or a coworker and you're letting them know, yeah, I'm going to be going on this, showing. I'm going to be with, John Doe. You can also create a secret word where you can, so you're not going to like tip off this person, but if you feel threatened or you feel like you're, something's, not right, you can make a phone call and or send a text and send a, some kind of a code word that lets that person know, I don't feel comfortable, I may be in trouble, and you know maybe I'm gonna need some help, right? Leave your belongings in the car. Yeah, don't take your purse. Try not to take your laptop or bag into the house. Lock it in the car trunk before you arrive. And that's just, basic. You don't want to get ripped off, right? Always have your phone. Never go into a listing appointment without your cell phone, because that can be your lifeline. That can be, how you contact somebody. And I've even had agents, they even have that phone number of their point person ready to dial at, a second's notice. So not a bad idea. Have a security app. There are little apps on the iPhone and on the Android where you can press a little panic button and your phone, you know, first calls somebody for help in a covert manner, and or there are settings to have it make, an obnoxious noise. So security apps are great. Definitely look into those if that makes you feel comfortable. This is a really good one. Let the client walk in front. So when you're showing a house, let the prospect lead. You can direct them. You can say yes, especially when you're going into rooms. You can, hang back let them walk into the room. You don't want to have the prospect between you and a door when at all possible. That's an easy way for them to trap you into a room. So you don't need to, walk into some place in front of them. And I see a lot of agents do that. It's just really easy to let them walk in front of you, right? And the same thing goes for attics and basements. Let them, you don't need to follow them into a dark windowless part of the house, right? You can let them explore an attic or a basement on their own. You can stay by the door, you know, those are the easiest places to get trapped. So just let them go in there. You don't need to go in there with them. Um, look around your car. So when you're getting into your car loan, this is just basic stuff. You don't even need to be on a on a client appointment. Just in general, when it starts getting dark, and you're getting into your car alone, look in the back seat before you get in. Kind of look underneath the car, perhaps, and then lock the doors immediately when you get inside. Dress for the weather. If your car breaks down or you need to escape a dangerous situation, you need to be dressed appropriately. Now, in California, we don't have to worry about snow so much or, freezing weather, but still dress appropriately and just make sure that you have a jacket with you, you have, road flares, in your car, and certain things like that definitely will make you just feel a little bit safer. Take a self-defense class. Great idea. They have them all over the place. It can teach you the proper maneuvers to physically fend off an attack and cover defense strategies, assertiveness, powerful communication tactics. Having just a tiny bit of that edge or knowing, having a professional instruct you on how to handle yourself, that's definitely going to help a little bit. Never hesitate to call for help. Yep, better to be safe than sorry. If you feel, um, in any way threatened, go ahead and call 911. Just do it. And then the last one is probably one of the most important ones. Just trust your first instinct. If there's a reason why your intuition tells you like something is slightly off and you don't feel comfortable about a situation, figure out an alternative, ask someone to go with you, and don't, hesitate to trust that first instinct. That I think is a huge one. You're going to feel it in your gut. You're going to say something's off, right? And if something's off, don't chance it. So now I'm going to just pull up the Inman article, and it's got most of them we've already gone over these, but it is kind of cool to see how Inman, always, they a lot of times they parrot the things that I talk about. So let's just do it for fun. So number one for them, and this is their top 10 safety tips. So number one for them is always verify client identity. That was, I think, number one for my list. So that's cool. So what do they say? They say agents sometimes meet new clients alone at properties without verifying their identity first, exposing themselves to the risk of dealing with dishonest or dangerous individuals. So absolutely. And then their solution is request a driver's license via text, verify new clients in person, at an office or public setting before any property tour, and utilize digital client management tools. So spot on. They said the same thing. Number two, bring a buddy. That's something that I didn't really go over, but not a bad idea to, bring a friend or family member or a colleague. So not a bad idea at all. And they don't have to even, come into the house. Maybe they're just, sitting in the car and just ready and just there. But you can navigate that as you will. Three, keep personal information private. Yep, we hit on that. Absolutely. They say the same thing. Business phone number, Google Voice. We talked about that. That's free. You can have your own Google Voice phone number and you can use that. So very, very cool. Number four, this I did not go over. So theft is not your problem. So strangers roaming in a property unescorted can result in theft. vandalism, or worse. So the solution that they say is you're not a security guard. Always keep valuables, medications, and sensitive information locked away. Make sure that your clients, keep all those things locked away, and remove them before showing. And know that you should never confront anyone who you see stealing something. That was very interesting for me. So, um, and I think what the proper thing to do is call 911 immediately. And if you've done number one correctly, you already have their information, you already have their identification, and so don't confront them right away. Just call 911, let them know, and show them to the door, and don't confront them. Um, that's probably a really good idea, because confronting a thief could lead to an altercation. Number five for them, trust your instincts. Absolutely. Ignoring a gut feeling or intuition about a suspicious situation can have serious consequences. Absolutely. We talked a lot about that. Have a prepared distress code. Yep, we talked about that. Evaluate and secure exits. That's a really good one. So know the house, know where the exits are, keep them open so you can get out quickly. And so their little solution that they say is, before anyone arrives, identify and ensure pathways to multiple exit routes. And position yourself near an exit when talking with clients. Again, don't put the client between you and an exit, even a doorway. Limit open house entry points. This is a good one I didn't go over. Multiple open doors make it difficult to control entry and monitor visitors. So make sure that you keep all the doors locked except one monitored entry. Consider having signage directing guests to the main entrance and having a colleague help greet visitors. By the same token, know how to open those locked doors very quickly and test them out yourself. So if you do need to escape, you have that. You have the ability to do it. Nine, make use of technology. Same thing. But and there's what they say is, there's safety apps. You can set up regular check-ins, enable location tracking. So that's a really cool thing with iPhones. You can share your location with a friend or family member. So really good idea. Before these meetings, just make sure that you're sharing your location and just let them know, hey, I'm supposed to be here for this amount of time. And if for some reason, your friend or family member notices that you're now, an hour away in the opposite direction, there's probably something wrong. And then 10 for them is continue safety education, stay updated. That's what we're doing here. We're just thinking about it. Sometimes when you just give it some thought, like we're doing right now, you are reminded of the different things that you can do to keep yourself safe. So, complacency risks falling behind on the best safety practices and tools. And it's easy to just get complacent. We're used to doing things a certain way. And so just having these discussions and thinking about this stuff at least once a year can help you keep yourself safe. And also you can, help your colleagues as well. And you can remind your colleagues of how they can, stay safe. If you're the listing agent, you can remind a seller's, or I'm sorry, a buyer's agent of certain things, or you can just, talk about it with them. I think that's a really good idea. And sometimes, if you're the listing agent or the buying agent, talking to the other agent about the safety and saying, hey, I'm going to be at this property, that could be your point person or one of them. So really important to just make sure that we're always thinking about these things, and we have all of these things in mind. So and then Don Kearney, our senior recruiter, he says, agents, if you need somebody to call and you don't have something that you have, feel free to call Don. Don is a great resource for the company. He's a great resource for you guys. So thank you, Don. Really appreciate that. Absolutely, he is, someone that you guys can call. So with that said, that is the bulk of our safety meeting today. And if Bill was here, he would give us a few insights and, synopsises of what he got out of this. But I'm sure you guys can draw your own conclusions. So, with that said, get out there, be safe, make it a great week, a productive week, and we will see you guys next Wednesday on the webinar. Bye bye.